Welcome back to the Upland Show, everyone. We're excited to have you here. Tonight, we're going to do something a little bit different. Tonight, we're going to talk about 6 things that Upland needs to fix. 6 issues that LOYLDOYL and I have issues with, and that we believe you in the Upland community also have issues with. These are 6 annoyances. And by the way, we have some honorable mentions beyond just the 6, but we're going to talk about each one of those 6 items that need to be fixed and need to be addressed immediately if Upland wants to keep up with all of the other metaverse projects that are popping up and mooning every day.
Yeah, so we know Upland is just got their investment. They did that partnership with Analytical brands that we made that video about. We know they're able to hire and scale. Here's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see another partnership like NFLPA or Spirit Halloween Legits, or I'm sure there's something that might be coming with Christmas. I don't want to see that till I see some core things with the game that are resolved.
Sure. Yeah.
And so let's jump into number 1. So number 1, filtering features. Okay, and by filtering features, I mean when I go to properties in the menu in Upland, which I cannot filter. There's no filter right here to say, like, what are all the properties I own in Oakland, for example. I only want to see Oakland properties right now.
Okay, so how many properties do you own right now? Properties.
I own over 4,000 right now.
Okay, so 4,000 properties. Maybe if you had 6 properties or under the number of 10, that might not be an issue. But when you have 4,000 properties...
Dude, even if you only have 50, it's really annoying. It's really annoying to be like, hey, what's that one I own in Santa Clara? Like, you don't want to scroll through 50.
Right.
It's not only for the bit. I don't think this is like a well-only issue, you know? So if you have to go to assets, and then you have to go to properties, and then you click this filter right here. So I like they announced this tool, I think about 4 months ago, and it's a good start.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's decent. But let me show you even some issues with this. If I go into Oakland, for example, and I go to Glenview neighborhood, which is our node, by the way, it's where we're building as a community. So if I go to the Glenview neighborhood, can I even find it? Control F. Glenview.
Go. Nice job.
Okay, and then you have to go down and click apply. Okay.
Right.
Here's all the properties in Glenview. If I want to list all these for sale or something, or let's say I just want to start listing them one at a time for sale. So I'm going to click this Fruitvale Avenue. Okay. And I'm going to say sell this for... Okay, 50,000 UPIX. Okay, offer for sale. Oh, got to do my, by the way, turn on 2-factor authentication. I'm a big supporter of it. 30651. Okay, so I list that for sale. Now, if I exit out of this, I am no longer in my Glenview neighborhood. It's like,
the filter was not retained.
The filter's not retained. So now I got to go back to Oakland.
Yeah,
I got to Control F to Glenview.
Yeah, that's very frustrating.
And then I got to click apply again.
And I'm no programmer, but I mean, I do know that other complicated web applications, even browser-based web applications, have resolved this type of issue.
Yeah. I know it's not something... the Upland developers are amazing, let's be honest. Let's give them credit. They've done some amazing things.
I couldn't do it.
I know they can do it. It's not that hard for... That's the thing. I think the 6 points we're bringing up tonight are not that hard to resolve.
Sure. Okay.
So what's the next one, McSqueeb?
All right. The next one is something that I feel very passionate about. Now, I don't have 4,000 properties like my whale friend LOYLDOYL to my right, your left, has. But I have at least 12 or 1,300 properties. And again, that's not the plethora of properties that Tyler has. But I would like to ensure that I'm making the most money I can from the properties that I do own. What I mean by that is I want to list each property that I have for sale. I mean, maybe there's some ones that I want to strategically hodl or hold, but for the most part, I want to make sure that my properties are in the marketplace and up for sale. Now, I have, like I said, about 1,200 properties. Who has the time in their day to visit each one of those properties, analyze that property, look at it?
Well, yeah, the filtering tool, as we just talked about, doesn't work very well to go list them all for sale one by one. So.
And I'm looking at each one of these properties. I'm like, okay, I guess I could spend the next 8 hours listing each one of these properties for sale.
One by one.
One by one. But what might be nice?
By
Upland?
by one.
Right. Day by day.
By day by day.
Who knows that movie? By day by day. All right. The point is, Upland developers, if I could go in and apply some rules to all of my properties, for example, if I were to say I want to sell all of my properties at a 30% markup from what I paid for them, boom, that at least lists those under that particular rule. Now, I might say like, okay, but I also want to apply some exceptions to that rule, and I might want to say like, all my properties that are not collections, I want to list for sale for 25% of what I paid for them. But for those properties that I own that are in a collection, I want to sell for 100% of what I paid for them, right?
Or all my limited collections sell for this, all my rare collections sell. Like, it would be really nice to be able to set some rules,
dude, it'd be amazing.
Dude.
It would take me 30 seconds to figure through that, and I could go boom, and now all 1,200 of my properties are listed for sale based on the criteria or the strategy that I've put together.
Yeah.
So that's my wish list. That's one of my items that I wish Upland would do. It basically puts the Uplander in a position of greater control over their assets and also over their potential wealth.
Yeah. All right. So tip number 3, beginner tips and more kind of hand holding, essentially. So I want to see, number 1, the biggest issue I see, and that I see comments on my YouTube channel, I go to the Upland Reddit thread a lot. Why did it, like, hey, I started in Manhattan because Manhattan's cool, and there's no properties I can buy. Like, Upland, be more specific with your new players. Help the new players get in, get comfortable. I get that it's a free market and you want people to be able to choose which city they go to, but say, it might be better if you say, we highly recommend you start in Chicago right now, or we highly recommend you start in Nashville, because in those two cities, there are really low-cost FSA properties that you can afford.
Yeah.
If you go to Manhattan right now, there's zero.
Yeah.
There's zero and then they have to pay half the UPIX that the game provided them. The game has given them about 4,000 UPIX or whatever.
Right.
It's going to cost like 2,000 UPIX to travel to one of those cities, and now they can't even afford a property to buy. So, beginner tips and tricks, that does bring up another kind of somewhat of an honorable mention. But, dude, travel fees, think about it. Upland's kind of trying to mirror what happens in the real world, right? So if you can buy a property in Chicago, in the real world, think about this.
Yeah.
If you could buy a property in the real world for 6,000 UPIX, but then it costs 2,000 UPIX to travel from Manhattan, one way, by the way, one-way trip from Manhattan to San Francisco.
Yeah. That's
1/3 of the cost to buy a property in Chicago.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Dude.
Yeah.
Like, imagine it. Like, what do you think the average cost of a property is in Chicago? Like
300,000
at least, probably.
Sure.
Okay, So yeah, that's a good point.
In reality, you mean? In reality.
Yeah.
In real life, not.
Yeah, in
not
real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, $300,000.
Sure.
So that would mean
Like
that it costs
$100,000 trip.
$100,000 for a one-way flight from San Francisco to Manhattan.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, and it doesn't really make sense to me from the economy standpoint. I mean, Upland is not making any money on collecting that UPIX, and I know they're giving a lot of that money back through treasure hunting and things like that. So the money they collect from travel fees, they're giving back to the community from treasure hunting, and I know they have to have a way economically to be gathering UPIX to pay it forward. But yeah, that's something I would like to see fixed.
Very good. And that comes home to me because I have a buddy named Emil. Shout out to Emil, who just joined the game under the name D Fluffy Bunny. Now, normally in any other social media, he would be known as Darth Fluffy Bunny, as in Darth Vader, but Darth Fluffy Bunny. But Upland only allows for so many characters in your your block or your account name. So anyways, D Fluffy Bunny, my buddy, he joined just a couple days ago and found himself in Staten Island. And he doesn't even know how he got to Staten Island. And I was
he would have had to have selected it. I know that.
Oh,
at
really?
some
Like
point.
from the get-go? Like
Yeah.
when you okay.
I know that they say, which city would you like to choose?
Okay.
And he must have picked Staten Island for some reason.
All right. And then he was texting me all night long like, what do I do? Which property do I purchase? How do I know if this purchase is economically a good call?
Exactly.
Right? So in addition to that hand holding, the third party analytical tools need to the game needs to be upped on the analytical tools.
Dude, maybe it should just automatically give the cheapest FSA property available when somebody joins the game. Maybe that's
Sure.
maybe that's a
Well, I mean,
way to resolve
if
it.
If you were to create a Twitter account today, a brand new clean Twitter account, it's going to ask you, "Hey, what are your interests?" Right? And then based on those interests that you select,
It's going to suggest
it's
some
going to
channels.
suggest some content, right? So if you said, "Hey, yeah, I'm interested in long-term investing when I come into Upland. I'm interested in flipping content or properties, or I'm interested in unique NFTs, whatever the reason why you're here. It'd be nice to categorize that, create personas, and then as that person comes in and selects those, maybe feed that person some experiences based on their experience or based on their interest."
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's
cool.
good. All right, what's the next point, McSqueeb? I
Okay,
think
the
you
next
have number
point-
4, right?
Yeah, the next point is on item number 4 that needs to be fixed, in our humble opinion, is the opposite of what I was talking about just a few minutes earlier, where I was suggesting that it would be so nice if I could go in and just put some blanket rules across all of my properties to list them for sale. I would also like to purchase some properties based on some blanket principles. For example, I might say, I'm really interested in properties in Manhattan and San Francisco. And I'm interested primarily in properties that have high up to, up square.
UP2.
UP2 numbers or values. But for the lowest price, that are at the floor or lower, execute, right? And now, if there are other people in the game who have similar criteria for purchasing, it's first come, first serve. Like in crypto, you've got your decentralized exchanges, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, SushiSwap, whatever. And people come in all day long. Hundreds of thousands of people are coming in with the exact same criteria to purchase certain assets for certain prices, and it's really first come, first serve. And so I don't think it would be that difficult for Upland to allow us the ability to make purchases
Based on criteria.
Based on criteria. Now that, of course, that they have to find a seller who meets and matches that criteria. But again, if those tools are there for me on the seller side to offer things up for sale at a certain criteria, under certain criteria, and a buyer comes along, like, why do I have to, look at that property, click on that property, and make that purchase? Why can't I just make some blanket purchases? So for me, it's called, now that in, decentralized crypto is called automated market maker. And I'd like to see more of that kind of tool.
So kind of auto purchasing based on criteria you've pre-selected. Like, if a property is listed in X collection for X amount markup, I would like to buy that instantly.
Yeah, I would like to go to bed at 11:30 p.m., set some criteria that says between now and the next 24 hours, if anyone lists their property in Manhattan for, within this range, and that meets this criteria of up to UP2s, whatever, they're not in collections or they are in collections, whatever. I'd select all the criteria, and while I'm asleep, if someone were to list something for sale, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, nice. I just found 18 properties that I now own because of this automated market making tool that's now made available to me as a purchaser.
And it could, to be fair, so to speak, could have a first come, first serve basis. So if you have that criteria selected and another player also has that same criteria selected, it could offer it to you first, and then the next player gets the next one that's listed or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, dude, that's a powerful. That would be a powerful tool. All right, number 5 for things that Upland needs to fix. I would like to see more info on each property. So, for example, let's just zoom in on Bakersfield because that's where my mouse went. And let's look for a property that's for sale. Okay, right here. This Dolph owns this property. It's listed for $79,000. I can click these blue tools, this blue boosted earnings to see, okay, it's not in a collection. It's just in the basic Bakersfield and newbie collection. So at least I can see that, which probably isn't apparent to a lot of new players, actually.
Honestly, I've never seen that before. I didn't know that was a possibility.
Yeah, if you click anything that's blue, you can interact with anything that's blue.
Wait, has that always been the case?
Yeah, that's a fun little tip and trick.
Okay, so click you'll pay $82.9. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
It explains what community contributions
are. That's fantastic. I had no idea. So blue means
so that's
clickable.
Where the fees go back to Okay. But what I would like to know is what the mint price was for this property.
Right.
And give me more of like a Zillow experience.
Yeah.
Like when you look at a property for sale in the real world and you get that kind of real estate listing, there's a lot of information on there.
Sure,
there's a lot more than just listed price. Like let's compare this to the real world. Listed price, that's like what it's for sale for. Square footage, UP2. This is the square footage.
Yep.
And this is like maybe what you could rent it for. These are like kind of what average rents are in the area. That's all the information we have.
Yeah.
I want to see I want to see more than that. I want to see what are other properties being sold for in this area. I want to see how much was this property purchased for 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like on Zillow, you use Zillow as an example. In addition to the price history of the particular property you're looking at, you just mentioned it, the ability to compare the price of this particular price or property against the average price of surrounding properties is very important. Now, of course, in Upland, any idiot can come in and sell I've seen people list some cheese ball property for $100 million, right?
Yep.
But if you use a median, calculation, so where you weed out
like properties in this neighborhood are going for X amount,
right?
On average,
you weed out the idiots, right? Who don't know that they have some property that's valuable and they don't list it at a reasonable price, and those are like 100 billion UPICs, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous. Okay, what is the median price per square UPIC, up-twos,
Yeah.
UP2s, right? That would be helpful to know if you're getting a good deal or not.
Or recent sales
Yes.
in this neighborhood.
Yes.
That's something you see in the real estate market. Like, what do they call them? Comps?
Right.
They call them, here's comparable sales that happened in this neighborhood in the past 6 months.
Yep.
And in order to get the value that your property has, they're gonna look at comps.
See,
and they're
eventually,
gonna say, here's what's recently sold in that neighborhood for these X amounts. By the way, I apologize. I didn't have the screen. I wasn't sharing the screen view when I showed this, but if you click on anything that's blue right here, so if you click on these boosted earnings, that's how you see the collections right there.
Gotcha.
So yeah, anything that's blue on the screen, you can even click on the player like that and see their stats as well. Okay. Should we jump into the next point?
All right, this is number 6, and this point comes with a little bit of embarrassment on my part. Okay, so when I was brand new into the game, I was maybe a week into being an Uplander, and one day I was at my local bank, and I was in line making a deposit or a withdrawal. I don't know what I was doing, but I was inside the bank. Now, picture the bank, the local bank that you might walk into on a Saturday morning or, whatever. There's the friendly ladies up front.
A Tuesday.
And they always have like a little cup of lollipops, right? Okay. And there's like about 4 people ahead of me. I'm in line waiting for my turn. I have a habit of being on my phone when I'm waiting in line for anything. Well, that particular day, because I was new to the game of Upland, I was like, I'm going to fire up Upland, see what deals are out there, right? Well, as I'm waiting, I'm like, I have the app open for maybe 150 seconds, right? And
which is precisely 2 minutes and 30 seconds if you weren't that quick at math.
Yes, or 2.5 minutes. Or, anyway. So I was there in line, and I found a beautiful historic property in Oakland for 20,000 UPICs. And I was like, that's a nice looking property. And it's only 20,000 UPICs. Boom. Purchased, minted, it was mine. I did my little transaction at the bank with the teller, and I got a green sucker. It was really nice. In about 3 minutes after I put that sucker into my mouth, I went back and looked at that property that I just bought, and that's when I almost
saw your liquid UPIX balance, and it was gone.
Yeah, my UPIX was gone, and I was like, "What do you mean? Where's all my UPIX?" And the thing is, what I thought was 20,000 was actually 20 million UPIX.
Yeah, 20,000 USD.
Yeah. I spent
not $20 USD.
I spent $20,000 US while sitting there waiting for that green sucker at the bank.
And no warning popped up.
And there was no warning.
Said,
like,
hey, this property is drastically high. Hey, this property is approximately 5,000% above markup.
Or this property is 98% of your total value in the game. Is this something you really think you should be doing?
Yeah, it's a big issue. It's a big issue in the game.
So the reverse is true as well, in that I could be like, man, I got this really sweet property, and I'm going to sell it for 20 million UPIX.
Or for $20 USD.
Yeah, and so because there's this exchange ratio between the dollar and the UPIX, I get a little bit confused. I'm like, okay, 20,000 means 20 million, right? And 20 million means 20,000, right? Or is it 20 means 20 million and 20,000 means 2? Like I start getting confused because I'm an idiot. And before I know it, there's no safety nets in this game
that says warning.
Yeah.
You are selling a property.
You're an idiot.
For 5 UPIX, not 5 USD. That is approximately, 5% of what it should go for.
Bro,
or whatever.
if I have only $500 into this game and I go in and I purchase a property that is 490 UPIX or 490,000 UPIX.
Yeah.
Which is the equivalent of 490 USD, right?
Yeah.
I would expect there would be some kind of like, bing, you are about to spend 99% of your total value on this particular property. Are you sure you want to?
Yeah.
Like there's just some little like, thing.
Yeah. Warnings about, hey, this is what's happening. You could think of like 5 different scenarios. This is you're selling this for below mint. You're buying this for way higher than what is going on average.
Yeah.
You're about to spend all your UPIX. Are you sure? There's lots of different scenarios that it's like, hey, just to be clear,
right?
Let's be clear about it. Like, help us out. And dude, I imagine this will save the support team and the developers a lot of time to be working on other things.
You'd think. Now listen, I'll admit I was the idiot who made that mistake. But I have to think that given there were other successes and pattern of success throughout my life, that I can't be the only idiot who has made that mistake, And actually Tyler here has helped me prevent from selling something that's ultra rare for 100 times lower than what it's valuable.
Yeah.
For what
a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, like something.
And
like,
there should be like, hey, like a lot of new players may win a terminal, like an airport terminal or something like that, and they have no idea that those are worth like 1,000 USD or 3,000 USD at least.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'll sell this for 200,000 up. It's gonna be sweet. Like, I'm not even worth 200. And it's like, dude, you just sold yourself so short, bro.
That goes back to the whole Zillow concept,
does.
because Zillow would probably say, bro, hold on there, because you know that any other airport terminal in the Pacific Northwest or in the United States
for this amount
is going for 10x of what you're listing it for.
Exactly.
You sure you want to do that?
Exactly.
So just a little bit more intelligence, I think, would be nice.
All right, so that was point number 6, warning for buying and selling. Let's jump into a few of our honorable mentions. No, the honorable mention number 1 for me is landmark collections. So I own a landmark property. I'm not trying to be biased. I only own one. There are players out there who own 5 or 6 or 7. But I would like to see a landmark collection. Landmarks are purchased for the highest amount of any other properties in-game. Venom literally paid 40,000 USD, 40 million UPIX for a single property in Upland. It was Rockefeller Center in Manhattan.
Has he sold that, by the way?
No, he still owns it. And what's crazy is, like, a lot of new players don't even know how to find those. Like, they don't even if you Upland team, even if you don't add a collection, find a way. Like, I know there's a little tag on the property that's got a little white thing with a landmark symbol on it, but it's not. And I know that they also, the other thing about landmarks, if you didn't know, is they have custom buildings designed for them, like that replicate what they look like in the real world. Yeah,
Coit
like
Tower
the Coit Tower actually looks like the Coit Tower.
Okay.
Though it's very small. And I have Yoshi's in Oakland, which is a really cool concert venue,
legit,
and I'm
dude.
excited to see what that building looks like.
That's going to be a moneymaker for you. But
Yeah, maybe we'll host the Upland show in the future
Let's
in the
do it.
metaverse.
Let's do it.
in Yoshi's every like
Bro,
Friday
let's
night
do
or
it.
something.
Let's
like
do it.
that.
That's gonna be
So,
dope.
what was your honorable mention?
Okay, my honorable mention is allow us to have control over our block explorer directional travel after ascend. Now, here's what I mean by that. By that, I use ascend to go to a particular property. Okay, let's say if you're looking at me on the screen,
In hopes that you start walking a certain direction.
yeah, let's say I travel to this property right here in hopes that I go to this property over here. But what happens is I use that send, which are limited resources, by the way, to send to this property in hopes that I go over here. And what happens is I land here and I start to drift this way. And I'm like, damn it. So then I have to use another send, which are limited.
And pray and spray that it goes up.
I come right back again, and I'm like, please go here. And what happens is it starts to travel this way. I'm like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. Like, allow me a little bit more control of my block explorer. Stop being so freaking random.
Exactly.
You know, like, allow me the opportunity to control my fate.
My other honorable mention is about the NFLPA legits. If I go to my legits, which, by the way, I've made a pretty significant investment in these. So there are mementos and there are essentials. But all mementos and all essentials are not equal. You can literally buy, if I go to if I click the football to buy, an essentials pack is 12,000 UPIX. A game bundle, which comes with one memento and other essentials, is 80,000. But then there's a superstar pack, okay, that's 230,000. So show me, which of my mementos and essentials are superstars? Like how do I see that in this menu? This kind of goes back to filtering tools.
Yeah.
Like, maybe put a filtering tool that says show me all my superstar players. Like, even if I click on one, like, not only is it not in the menu, if I click on one, how do I know if this guy is a superstar or not? Like, there's no additional information that says, like, this card should probably be more rare, and that's why you should have spent 10 times, no,
Nay.
20 times more than the cost of a regular essential. They're literally 20 times the cost for a superstar card or
Really?
memento
It's crazy.
than it is for a regular one. So,
It's
like,
nuts.
identify that
I mean,
in the game.
Are they relying upon our own research within the NFL?
It's like you're supposed to know which players are superstar players, and then people offer you trades, and you may not know if you're actually making a good trade because it doesn't say so-and-so is offering you your superstar card for their POS essential card. It's like, nope, they're just offering you Emmanuel Sanders for Landon Collins. And you don't know if Emmanuel Sanders is better than Landon Collins, dude.
No disrespect to Emmanuel Sanders or
Those are just
Mr.
the two
Collins.
on the screen.
But I would say this. You and I have both been clear that we're not NFL experts. We're not big NFL fans. You know, like, we're more baseball, more alternative sports.
But I'm still in on the NFLPA legits. Like, I want to be in on it.
Well, I mean, so probably, I bet, my guess would be that the folks at Upland would be like, all right, man, well, this is reliant upon your knowledge of the NFL. But my contention with that would be, yeah, my knowledge of the NFL in 2020, like, why not just give me 2021 real-time, relevant
Hey, those are coming.
opportunity.
But also,
All right.
look, like, okay, if I want to see how much fire, like, see how the Upland team put all this work into being like, if you have more than 6 tackles in a game, that deserves a fire stat because you performed super well in that game.
Nice job, Kerry.
Okay, so I get it. This guy had 5 solo tackles, 6 tackles, and an interception. Great stats.
Yeah.
Dude, but if you have a lot of them, like, maybe put little fire symbols right here. Like, that has 1 fire, 0 fire, 5 fire.
Right.
Like, dude, I got to go in and freaking click on every single one of them.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Come on, team. We know you can do it. We know it's all the data's right there.
Yep.
Just think about the menu systems and the sorting systems.
No, that's a good point. The data is there. Like it's just
there.
a question of displaying
It's
it.
just making it a little bit prettier and easier, more user friendly. It's just UX.
And I would say that a lot of these UX arguments that you and I are making, I would suggest typically can be overcome easily by the team when the team is allowed to participate as a player in the game. In other words, I mean, I understand the ethical reasons why a player or a developer is not allowed with their insider knowledge to come in and start playing the game.
Yeah, because they would know collections and things like that.
Yeah. But man, like, there's got to be a way in which they can put together.
There is a way. Watch this video, please, developers, and fix it.
All right.
Like, hey, we'll gladly share this video with Dirk and Idan and the rest of the team. Please hear us out.
Upland, you have been called out. Shots are fired. Okay, the last thing. Can we close this out with my last?
Yeah, last honorable mention.
And that is this. And this is maybe a little bit, I guess, related to the conversation we had in a few episodes ago, in which we talked about the values of being having a centralized metaverse versus a decentralized metaverse. And I think in that conversation we talked about how Upland is more centralized versus some super decentralized metaverse where we walk in and we create our own currency, we create our own rules, we create our own whatever. Well, in a centralized metaverse like Upland, one of the things that's the centralized organization, and I'm going to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek and call it the Upland government or Federal Reserve.
The Upland bureaucracy.
Correct. One of the things they're deciding is what properties are included in which collections. Okay? So
and the rarity of those.
Yeah, so they look at a city. For example, they'll look at Chicago.
It's someone's full-time job now, actually. They hired a new employee. That's their full-time job to research collections.
Is this like a geography or a history major or history expert?
I don't know.
The reason why I asked that question is because, look, I lived in Kansas City for like 12 years
You're
of my
wearing
life.
a Kansas City hat right now.
Kansas City Royals, bro. I lived in Kansas City for 12 years of my life. And I think Upland got about 40% of the collections right. The rest of the collections, if you lived in Kansas City and you saw that some of those collections as being determined or classified as more valuable than others properties, you'd be like, Gladstone? Gladstone is nothing but sketch. Like, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of good friends in Gladstone, Kansas City. But the point is that I don't think that Upland is getting these collections 100% correct. Now, I'm not complaining, but my point is this. This is my honorable mention. Allow us to create our own customized collections. Now, hear me out. Let's say I was am a massive skateboarding aficionado. I love skateboarding. And by the way, skateboarding is a massive, massive industry in the Western United States, and it's growing around the world. But as a skateboarding aficionado or expert, I might know in San Francisco, for example, some of the hottest, most prolific, and most popular skate spots in San Francisco. Now, I wouldn't expect Upland to know that, nor would I expect them to create a limited collection based on skate spots because that's really kind of a niche, right? A niche, if you will. However, I think it would be cool if they allowed me to create my own collection, right? I said, if I were to say skate spots in San Francisco, NorCal skate spots, right? And maybe I'm not paying out interest, per month on, there's no boosted interest on each of these. However, by labeling them as a collection, it becomes it adopts its own inherent demand or value, if you will. There's no boosted income that comes to it, but those of in the world who share my same interests might be like, oh my gosh, bro, that's skate on hate, and I want that spot,
Yep.
and I'm gonna pay more for that spot, and I have created that collection, and now, when I hit that, if I were to hit that particular property, I might see that somebody has labeled that under their own custom collection, and it might resonate with me or it may not. If it does, there's more demand for me to purchase that particular property. So that's probably small, but I think it would be cool if we had the autonomy to create our own collections. And I'm not suggesting that Upland backs away from their ability to decide upon what the collections are, but I just think allow us to create their own collections. That'd be cool.
I love it.
That's all I'm saying.
Love that idea. Yeah, maybe they could do it in a system where the community is allowed to vote on. People come up with some collections. You can kind of vote. Yeah.
Well, okay, so I mean,
honorable mention collections.
Think about the music that just popped on here. Sounds a little Asian, right? Okay, so what town is it that hasn't? What town is it? Oh, it's Chicago. There's a Chinatown in Chicago, right?
There's Chinatown in almost every big city.
Right. Why is it Upland's responsibility to define what is Chinatown? Now, I'm sure that each town would say that generally these blocks, these 4 blocks by this wide and these 9 blocks this way is Chinatown. Upland collects that information and decrees that Chinatown. But, I mean, maybe the Asians in that area might be like, I mean, legally that's what Chinatown is, but there's this whole other district over here where...
Like, you could go to the Strip in Las Vegas, but have you been to Fremont Street? Right.
I mean, like, what if there's traditional Chinatown and here's where the spots where the hot pots are? Or here's where the spots where you really can get some decent deals on pants, whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, why is it Upland has to come in and be the one who defines what the collections are? Why not allow us a little bit of that opportunity to define? My guess is that nobody on the staff of Upland has lived in Kansas City as long as I have. And they've not reached out to me, and I wouldn't expect them to. Just allow me the opportunity to create some crazy, cool little collections of my own.
Cool.
That's all I'm saying.
Love it. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. Please like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Let us know in the comments if you agree or if you disagree. We love a good debate. We love good constructive criticism, and we get it often.
This content is as clean as we can make it. It might be a little dusty for some of you, but for the most part, we're just doing the best we can.
Hey, thank you so much, and we hope to see you in the next one. As always, peace out.